And let's go to our next speaker, Clara, colleague Kasser. She's a law lecturer, University of Ghana Law School. I just want you to give you guys just a small feedback of what you are doing and how people are taking it. Bendazi Edufo says, tweets, Newsfile is packed and impactful. Such a lineup should have had a forum with enough time for individual delivery. Kofi Boateng says, Newsfile today is epic. Rewatching and re-listening. We need to internalize these thoughts. Amos Ami says, I believe responsible heads are loving today's edition of Newsfile right from Speaker 1 to Speaker 10. In fact, they came prepared and are educating the blindfolded youth by inculcating real sense into our minds. But the question is, are we listening to act? We should listen to act. The last one says, Hussein says, preach on, Oliver. Your poem must be played to every ear in the country. You represented Nkrumah well. Kwame Nkrumah must be proud about you now. Clara, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Samson. And I have enjoyed all the speeches made so far. Great insights from all the panelists so far that they have made. Now, before I go to what I have to say for today, I want to make a comment, which is that laws alone, no matter how humanly perfect, will not secure for any nation the blessings of liberty, accountability, and prosperity. And that no laws, no matter how robust, by themselves would be able to secure for any country what they aspire to be. What is the case, though, is that it is laws coupled with the practice and adherence to democratic values that will secure for us the blessings of liberty, accountability, and prosperity. And that the progress of any society depends very much on the laws they enact, one, for themselves, two, the values with which they enforce these laws, and then their willingness to constantly review and revise both the laws and the values in line with our aspirations. And I say this because, as I always tell my students, the truth of the matter is that a law, no matter how new, is just a piece of paper. It is the institutions, the values, and the persons who give life to the law. So that piece of paper in itself will not eradicate poverty. It will not promote equality. It will not promote inclusiveness. It will do absolutely nothing if we do not enforce those laws in accordance with the values of our society. And those values must be in line with the aspirations that we have for ourselves. Having said this, I now proceed to what I have to say today.
Conflict of interest and social protection.
Exactly. On other occasions, I have pointed out what I consider as the shortcomings of our Constitution. Today, however, I am not going to dwell on the shortcomings of our Constitution. Today, I choose to look at some positives, at least two articles, which will help us to promote equality, promote inclusiveness of our society, secure social cohesion, citizenship building, promoting human capital, and achieving equitable and sustainable development. And I make two requests, one of the President and the second of Parliament, particularly the Speaker of Parliament. Now, my request to the President or the Executive, and this request relates to Article 36 of our Constitution, which borders on the review and passage of the Social Protection Bill. And this is my request. The request is that, in line with Article 108 of the Constitution, the president will cause to be introduced in Parliament the Social Protection Bill upon consideration of civil society's input for the review of the Social Protection Bill. As we may be aware, social protection is increasingly considered globally as a human right. It has a basis in the 1992 Constitution, which is Article 36 of the Constitution, and it is definitely secured as well by international obligations that Ghana has signed up to. To our credit, we do have a draft bill. So there is a social protection draft bill. If you look at the aims of the Gender and Social Protection Ministry, it was hoped that this bill would have been passed in 2019. But it has not as at yet, to the best of my knowledge, been introduced in Parliament. So I would like to make a request to the Parliament, to the President, to cause to be introduced into Parliament this bill. And then, of course, taking into consideration the views made by civil society as input in this bill, I have myself authored a policy brief on this bill, as well as, and there are other people, both in academia and civil society, who have offered input for the review of this bill to be passed in Parliament. Why this bill is important to us is that we do need to protect the most vulnerable of our society. And that is what the Social Protection Bill seeks to do. It seeks to secure both a legal, regulatory, as well as financial legal framework for the implementation of social protection, so that we can capture the most vulnerable of our society, provide them assistance that they need to be able to exploit the talents that they have, in which talents at the end of the day will help to promote the human capital of our country. And of course, it will help us in our economic, social, and financial growth. So my request today is to the President that please, our humble appeal is to cause the Social Protection Bill to be introduced in Parliament, and hopefully it will be passed this year, so that we can have a national, coherent framework, legal framework for the provision of social protection. Various individuals have been doing their bits to support other vulnerable people, and we congratulate them for the efforts that they make. But we must admit that this cannot be enough, because there are only so many people that anybody can help at a time. The country has an obligation to provide for its most vulnerable, and we should be interested in the legal framework as well as institutional framework for the protection of these people. It is not a favor we do to them, it's their right. They have a right to it. And apart from that, it is in our interest to do so, because the research shows the benefits of having a national social protection legal framework.
Okay.
Now, my second request, which goes to Parliament, and this request relates to Article 98(2) of the Constitution, and borders on the question relating to whether or not MPs should serve on boards of state-owned enterprises. Now, if you read Article 98(2) of our Constitution, it is very clear what the law wants Parliament to do. And if you indulge me, I'll just read the particular provision quickly. And it is this, Article 98, Clause 2. It says that a member of Parliament shall not hold any office of profit or emolument, whether private or public, and either directly or indirectly, unless permitted to do so by the Speaker, acting on the recommendations of a committee of Parliament. And what are the grounds on which the Speaker may allow a member to do so? The grounds are that stated in the same article, subclause A and B, that holding that office will not prejudice the work of a member of Parliament, and that too, no conflict of interest arises or would arise as a result of the member holding that office. Now, it is very clear that the office of board member is a public office, even if you want to say it's private. Article 98 applies to both private and public. And it does have emoluments, because if you look at the enabling acts of all state enterprises, it usually provides for emoluments that the board may take. And these are usually approved by the finance minister, or the finance minister in consultation with other councils determine the emoluments. So these are offices of emoluments. The question then is, will it prejudice the work of Parliament? And then two, is there conflict of interest? Absolutely. Because we know that Parliament is supposed to hold accountable state-owned enterprises, approving their budgets and all of that. And of course, if we go to the constitutional provisions relating to conflict of interest, it is clear that Parliament, an MP should not have a financial interest, whether direct or indirect. In this case, they do have financial interest in those budgets that are being passed, because there will be emoluments due to them. And also, as I noted earlier on, in line with our aspirations and our values, is it the case that we want to create this situation where Parliament that has oversight over these entities also sits on their boards, which means that acts that they would have taken part in will be coming to them again for approval? I do not think so. So I think this is an opportune time for the Speaker to act on this and enforce Article 98(2) of the Constitution, so that MPs cease to hold membership in boards, on boards. In conclusion, what I will say is that there is so much that we can do, but I also think that there is so much that we can be proud of ourselves for. So whilst we continue to strive towards our aspirations, which we must, we should also learn to build on what we've done so far, revise our values, and continue to see how we can make this country the country that we all want to be proud of and to live in. Thank you very much, Samson.
Thank you so very much, Clara Berry, Collega Kasser, lecturer in law, University of Ghana, School of Law. Thank you so very much.